One of the most confusing experiences in relationships is when someone disappears instead of having a hard conversation. No explanation, no closure, just distance or silence or ghosting. And this happens in dating, in friendships, in family, anywhere emotional honesty is required. So, today we're going to talk about why this happens from a nervous system relational perspective. Not to excuse it, not to villainize anyone, but to help you understand. Things are usually not personal to you. It's about that person's capacity within their nervous system to hold the truth, your truth or their truth. Hi, I'm Kristen. Welcome back to this channel where we have grounded conversations about our deepest connections. We will assume often that when someone avoids a hard conversation, it's because they don't care. They don't want to be around us. They don't want to be our friend anymore. They don't resonate with us anymore. We've done something. But more often than not, it's because their nervous system doesn't know how to stay present with the emotional discomfort. For some people, honesty does not feel relieving. It feels threatening. Hard conversations activate fear of conflict, fear of being seen, fear of hurting someone, fear of an overwhelming emotion that they don't know how to regulate. So instead of engaging, the system chooses what feels safer: silence, distance, disappearing, ghosting, non attachment. They are essentially freezing and fleeing away, right? Fight, freeze or appease. In this case, they are very often freezing in the emotional overwhelm and then choosing to flee to not have to deal with the overwhelming amount that their nervous system feels: anxiety, stress, the physical and mental discomfort, the discomfort that the heart feels with all these emotions. So again, it's not personal to you, but it can be very hard to distinguish that when you are also having your own experience within this dynamic and you're simply feeling hurt. So, can you, for just one moment, lean into it's probably not me? And just taking a deep breath. It's probably not me, and I can just let them be. So remember, we always want to try to stay very grounded and gentle with ourselves, and remembering that these hard conversations are bringing up a freeze or a shutdown, but it's not conscious or necessarily a strategy on their part. When their nervous system is having this emotional intensity, they're not wanting to move towards a resolution. They're wanting to move towards protection. So that protection looks like going quiet, delaying a conversation indefinitely, just saying, I need space without follow up, or exiting the conversation altogether. From the outside, it just feels confusing. From the inside, it feels like survival to the other person. I had an experience 2 years ago where a girlfriend that I was quite close with, that we used to hang out all the time. We'd go get wine, we'd talk, we'd laugh. All of a sudden, and I'll never forget, there was a time where we were at our wine spot, and it just was awkward. It was really hard to communicate with as much ease as we normally communicate. There just was some kind of a tension. And after that, she just kind of left the building. Like, I would reach out. I think twice I reached out, both times. One time she didn't get back to me at all. The second time she kind of ignored my request to go out for wine, whereas normally she'd be like, oh yeah, let's find a time. I discovered that there was a rift in the friendship with a mutual friend. And it was a really bad rift. Something overwhelming had happened in the friendship. And she was associating me with that other person, which at the time was difficult for me. It was difficult for me to understand, because my thinking was, well, it's okay if you guys aren't friends anymore. I can be friends with her and I can be friends with you. And I discussed with the other person, and she felt the same way. Look, no problem. Like, please stay friends. I don't see any reason why you can't. But for this one woman, it was just so difficult. And so this feeling of overwhelm, of the stress, of the upset, was just easier for her to disengage with me and to also not have a conversation or talk about it. And this was I would say approximately 2 years ago. And eventually I dropped it. I spent some time really sad to lose a friendship, to lose someone that I was important in my life, who I was really enjoying. It's, as you get to be an adult, it's harder to make friends. But eventually I came to the realization, as we all do, that this is just how it is, and we move on and we focus on the people that are in our lives. And it's interesting because we're in a community where we will see each other. And I've seen her a couple of times, and she's always very nice to me, as though nothing had ever happened, as though she didn't ignore, a couple of texts over a period of time and wouldn't answer my questions about going out. And just kind of, maybe it was relief for her that I just kind of stopped trying to connect at all. But recently, the last time I ran into her, I gave her a quick hug and said hi, and she kind of took my hand, and she just said, she squeezed it, and she goes, I'm really so happy that you're here, and kind of just held on to my hand for a bit. And there was a moment where I thought, oh, maybe we'll come back together or we'll have a conversation. That didn't happen. She's simply not ready yet. It's taking her a long time to process, because the situation with the friend that she had the argument with the rift with, the overwhelming situation with, it's just something that's taking her a long time to process. And I'm choosing in the meantime to use it as a lesson, or did use it as a lesson, continuing to use it as a lesson in other situations of my life, that most of the time it really isn't about you. And I don't have to let my nervous system get dysregulated if I think she's going to be in the room. I don't have to think about it over and over again, trying to spin a story in my mind about what it is that I did. And I don't have to villainize her and make her some ungrounded, unstable person. She simply is where she is as a human, and I have my stuff too. So, if you resonate, let me know in the comments below. You know, I would love to hear about some of your experiences, and maybe we could all talk and just remind each other. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. So, why are we humans so avoidant? Well, many people learned early on that conflict led to chaos, rejection, or emotional flooding. Maybe they grew up in homes where feelings escalated quickly, disagreements weren't safe, or emotional expression came with consequences. So, we learn to associate honesty with instability, with someone perhaps being angry with us, with us being isolated or cast off. And over time, the nervous system decided silence is safer than the truth. Distance is safer than repair. And that belief doesn't disappear just because someone grows up. It gets integrated. And then the story replays over time with different people. And we can often start casting the different people that we meet in our lives in these old stories and start projecting it onto everyone, even when we don't want to. So, how does it look in adult relationships when someone's going into freeze or flight to avoid a conversation with you? It can look like someone pulling away instead of naming the discomfort, or talking specifically about what happened, someone disappearing after you're getting more close, whether you're getting more physically intimate, someone ending things abruptly without really explaining why. And what's difficult is that the person on the receiving end, often it can feel very deeply personal to us. It can leave us like with our friend. We're playing the conversation over and over again. We're questioning the reality of it. We can feel actually gaslit. It's very difficult to understand why someone that you seem to have a very close relationship with all of a sudden just doesn't like you anymore. And it can be particularly difficult if we've been dating someone and there's a lot of chemistry bouncing around the room and there's a lot of passion and there's desire, and it can feel like, God, we're up talking all night, and man, like, physically everything is fantastic. I feel like this person really understands me on an emotional and physical level, right? And then all of a sudden something like this happens. I mean, raise your hand, give me, a thumbs up or a heart in the comments, if this has happened to you, where really it's seemingly out of nowhere when everything seems like it's like on track to move forward. It's all about that other person's capacity to hold their own emotional tension, not about you. So here's the truth that matters. You cannot make someone capable of hard conversations by being more patient, more understanding, self-abandoning, playing back the stories of the beautiful times you've had together, how great you felt. Avoidance doesn't resolve itself in time. And silence is not a neutral choice. It is a relational action with impact. Someone can be overwhelmed and still responsible for how they handle connection. Understanding the nervous system roots of avoidance doesn't mean you have to tolerate it. It means recognizing reality clearly and having the power of choice. Here's another relationship truth for you. If someone disappears instead of communicating, that tells you something important. It's information, not about your worth, but about their relationship to discomfort. It tells you what happens when things get hard, and that information matters. Clarity doesn't always come in the form of words. Sometimes it comes in behaviors. So the real question isn't, why did they disappear? Okay, it's this. What kind of relationship do I want to be in when things are uncomfortable? One where silence replaces honesty, or one where repair is possible? You don't need to make anybody wrong, but you are allowed to choose relationships where communication doesn't vanish the moment it's needed the most. So thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining in on the conversation with me today. Please sound off in the comments below and share any experiences that you've had with this and with the community. My name is Kristen. This is In the Good. I do community journaling sessions, community meditations several times a week live here on YouTube. I would love for you to join in. And I will see you in the next conversation. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed and felt supported, so that others can feel supported as well. Bye now.